I'm your host, Alex Jones. We're going to open the phones up today to continue the discussion that we had yesterday on the Sunday broadcast. What is your line in the sand? And then once that line is crossed, what is your response to the tyranny? Because so many of those voices that are perpetually calling for some type of violent overthrow of the government never have a plan. They just say, you should go out and do it, or I should go out and do it. And then meanwhile, we have the social engineers pretty much perpetually trying to foment a mindless communist-style, French Revolution-style, rioting, burning, raping in the street type operation. So we need to have a big discussion about what is your line in the sand, and then what are you doing to stop that line from being crossed politically, economically, with the power you have? What are the different tools we have short of violence? The social engineers want to build up their police state, have it go out and start abusing the public, foment the worst elements of society to legitimize the police state, and then play the two sides off against each other. That's the bottom line. So how do we educate the public about this manipulation, about this conspiracy, and how do we try to thwart it? Well, about half the public just watches television all day and doesn't care what planet they're on. The numbers show that. But a good 20–30% are concerned, are somewhat awake, and are somewhat involved. They just need to be encouraged and empowered. And then you've got folks that need to be targeted peacefully to be awakened and warned about what they're part of in corporate governance, in government governance, in police and law. We need to force a major debate about all this and really make people have a private discussion and a public discussion about what's their line in the sand. What do they stand for? What orders will they follow? What orders won't they follow? Do they believe that they should follow any order? And if so, do they know about the Nuremberg precept of just following orders doesn't cut it? What I'm getting at here is that there is an attempt to foment civil unrest. Obama is set to meet on Ferguson. They have NFL players doing the hands up now when they make a touchdown, saying don't shoot. The evil isn't the deadly vaccines. The evil isn't the open borders and the free welfare to bankrupt the nation. The evil isn't half the black people aborted before they're born. The one evil is this brown gentleman being shot in Ferguson 2 weeks after I cut a video warning of the Pentagon preparing for a black race war that I believe the Justice Department would trigger. Not a hard prediction. And you've now seen it begin to unfold. It's very frustrating to know how the script reads and to see government provocateurs trying to radicalize every group they can and trying to divide and conquer. It's very sad. We're going to break it all down, get into a ton of other news, you name it. Flu vaccines admittedly killing people, mainstream news. We've got VIP pedophile ring, abused teenage boy inside Buckingham Palace and Balmoral Castle. This is being brought out to basically blackmail the British government by the EU. We've got news on Russia, you name it. Promote basic freedom, basic due process, basic dignity, basic rights and values. Those are all under attack by multinational anti-free market corporations who are establishing an anti-human world government where the general population will be replaced by machines, and that's only in a phase to make us obsolete, ahead of making us vestigial, ceremonial, so that the population can be forcibly reduced. That's the big eugenics, global governance, end of the rat hole, bottom of the rabbit hole plan. That is a public plan by the UN social engineers and their modern techno-priest, the transhumanist. who put out a pop version of transhumanism saying it will empower the public, when in truth it is beyond Sauron's ring, how it will take us into the darkness and there bind us, to use that allegory. I want to get into Obama attempting to foment, along with Al Sharpton, MSNBC, and others, racial division and civil unrest in this country as a political diversion. We have predicted this. 2 weeks before, Mr. Brown was shot dead in Ferguson. I shot a special report, and we wrote an article predicting, we'll put that up on screen for folks, predicting staged race riots in America with the headline, Army Training to Fight Blacks. Special Emergency Alert. So the Justice Department goes in and foments, while at the same time then sending the police and military out to deal with what they have fomented. Flashback, U.S. Army training to fight black Americans, Doomsday Disneyland facility used as practice ground for civil unrest. November 26th is when we republished that. But if you go back to the article, we flashbacked that last week. You can see that it was first published July 17th, and it's timestamped 2014. If you go to the YouTube video beneath it, you can see the company itself putting out the promo video, and then if you go below that video, you can see the special report that I filed. And what's the title of that one? I forget. I believe it's a special report. Army trains to fight. There it is. Army trains to combat black Americans. You can click on that on YouTube. Show folks the timestamp. That is July 17th, 2014. And it's a 29-minute report. Now, there's some other news I covered in there, but I'm very tempted at the bottom of the hour to play this report again so that people can really hear it and see it in context and understand that there are foreign interests that control the country through the private Federal Reserve. They need to get the police and military, who are loyal Americans on average, as bad as the police are around the country, they're more informed and more loyal and more awake than the general public in my research on the street and in the numbers. So that's why I criticize the police, and some departments are completely criminal. Other departments are pretty good overall. The larger issue is they're being globalized. They're being standardized. They're being overtaken right now. Just like Hitler took over the military in 1933 in Germany, in Deutschland. If somebody could have reached out to the military and the police before all that happened, 20 million Germans might not have been killed, and tens of millions of others. But Germany's mistake cost them 21 million people. Look it up. And it was the military too late that tried to stop the Nazi party. Well, what we have is a globalist party that doesn't get in trouble because they've got the big accounting firms and the lawyers and the law firms, and they have all these degrees of separation. They fence their corruption through all these international agreements and bodies and boards, and no one ever takes responsibility for what they've done. And the globalists are trying to make the police and the governing class a new subclass that's above the general public that has special rights, kind of like local petty nobility or something. This is the attempt, and people see that corruption. They see that above the law, haughtiness and arrogance in the feds and in many police departments. And they see the corruption and the government drug dealing, and they see the rich being above the law, and it makes the public angry. But when I ask, what is your line in the sand, the system wants to just make it about the police. That's what Obama's doing. That's what the Justice Department's doing. Local police, state, county, and city. So that the feds can be the saviors by federalizing, when the feds themselves have gone under UNESCO and the UN and munionization and Agenda 21. And under these treaties, they've already federalized most of the police and have given them the training and created the culture that the public hates. And their answer is more federalization to counter that. So when MSNBC and CNN, and I covered this yesterday, Time Magazine's headline, "When it's time to riot," or "A time for rioting." We'll pull the actual headline up. I'm going from memory. And then CNN goes, "This is legitimate demonstration."